Hi there, John C. Hickman here. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I want to talk about a really common dilemma that comes up for people in chronic symptoms. Should I rest more or should I push more? Should I push through? Because a lot of people find themselves stuck in this place where when they rest, symptoms show up, and when they push, symptoms can also show up, and they're constantly left wondering what they should be doing and when. So in this video, I want to break this down. I want to talk about why this happens, what actually is going on underneath it, and how to start understanding this in a way that helps you move forward without constantly having to second guess yourself. This is something I see all the time in people who come to see me, and it's not random. So if you're stuck in this rest versus push loop, there's a reason for it. People who end up with chronic pain are often people who like control. They like order. They like to know what's happening and what they should be doing. And when a lot of them are perfectionists, they're people pleasers, high achievers, planners, people who really try to do life properly. So when symptoms show up, the instinct is to manage it well, to get it right, to make the correct choice, to control it. Sometimes chronic pain shows up during really demanding periods of life. New families, elderly parents, more responsibility, less space. But that's not always the case, That wasn't my story. I had chronic pain when I was very young. And I didn't have children. I didn't have any huge responsibilities. And I still had symptoms. So this can happen at any stage of life. Before family, during family, after family life. It's not about how busy your life looks on the outside. I mean, it can be a big contributing factor, but it's more about how much pressure you're putting on yourself internally. Because a lot of people with chronic pain, like I said before, are constantly managing themselves. They're trying to control everything. Trying to be the good one, trying to be the calm one, the capable one, the good partner, the good parent, the good friend, the good colleague, the good son, the good daughter. They're always monitoring how they're coming across. They're always trying to keep things together. And at the same time, they're holding in frustration, resentment, fear, anger, often without realizing it. They're repressing quite big primal emotions. So there's this constant internal conflict between how you think you should be and how you actually feel. And that level of self-management, it's incredibly demanding on the nervous system. On top of that, most of us have learned what healing is supposed to look like through a very Western medical lens. Take this medication, do this treatment, and you should feel better immediately. Otherwise, it's wrong. So if we try something and we don't feel immediate relief, like this mind-body approach, we assume we've done something wrong. That expectation then follows people into every healing space. Even in meditation, a lot of people come to me and they've got meditation wrong. They're taught meditation means it's something you do to relax, to calm down, to release, to feel better. And even though that can happen, that's not actually the objective of what we're doing in this work. What we're really doing in this work is learning a skill. We're learning how to loosen the grip of control. We're learning how to sit with what's arising. We're learning how to surrender instead of constantly managing our internal experience. And a lot of the time, what arises for us in meditation and life isn't pleasant. So this approach that I teach here doesn't always bring immediate relief, especially in the moment itself. And that's where people get confused because it doesn't match what they've been taught healing should look like in the West. So then you're told two things. Let's bring it back to the point of this video. You're told rest more or push through. But neither can feel right because you try to rest and your body feels heavier, more painful, more uncomfortable. Or you try to push through and symptoms flare, anxiety rises, and everything feels worse. So you start questioning yourself constantly. Am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? Am I doing this wrong? That constant high alert around your symptoms is what becomes very exhausting. It's where people get very confused. And this is the part that really matters. The problem isn't rest, and it isn't should I push through. The problem is that your nervous system doesn't feel safe. With any choices, really. When the system feels unsafe, rest can feel threatening because there's no distraction anymore when you're resting, and effort can feel threatening because the system has learned to associate activation with danger. So both ends up triggering symptoms. But this isn't a strength issue. It's not a motivation issue. It's a safety issue. The nervous system doesn't feel safe. And this is where people get stuck. They rest and symptoms increase, and they assume something's gone wrong. Or they push through and discomfort shows up, and they assume something's gone wrong because I can't push and I can't rest. But often nothing's gone wrong. Sometimes when you rest, symptoms are rising just because emotions finally have space to show up when you rest. And sometimes when you push, the system panics, not because you're harming yourself, but because it's learned to fear effort, thinks effort is wrong. So the work becomes about learning how to be with discomfort without immediately interpreting it as danger. So instead of asking, should I rest or should I push, a more helpful question becomes, what happens if I gently experiment? Not to get it right, not to try to fix yourself, just to notice. What happens if I rest with support instead of collapsing? What happens if I push a little while staying present with my fear? That's an important point that I'll come back to. And just because symptoms appear if I rest or push, it doesn't mean that I've chosen wrong. This is where meditation really helps. This is what's so important about meditating in this approach. Not as a way to immediately feel better, but as a way to build capacity. You learn how to sit with discomfort without escaping it or controlling it. And over time, that skill will move into your daily life. You start to feel the difference between this feels uncomfortable, but it's actually safe, and this is actually too much for me right now. You start to notice the difference between the two. And that's how you learn when rest is needed and when gentle effort is actually more supportive. And over time, something else really important starts to happen, because as you get better at being with uncertainty in meditation, as you get better at being with discomfort in meditation, you also become less afraid of making the wrong choice. You don't mind so much if you rest and it wasn't quite what you needed that day. And you also don't mind if you pushed a little and it turns out it was a bit too much for you that day. Because you trust that you can be with whatever shows up. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to get it wrong. That constant question of, am I doing this wrong? It starts to loosen its grip. This is such a vital part of the process, because so many people, they live on high alert, feeling like one wrong decision is going to set them back or keep them stuck, make them relapse, and then they're back to square one. Over time, you learn that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to push and come home and feel a bit uncomfortable about the fact that you did it. You learn it's okay to rest and feel emotions arise when you're resting. You're not going to be punished for it. This is where fear becomes a really important emotion here. Not something to get rid of, but something to be with. I've spoken about it at length on other videos. I know for me personally, I grew up in quite a controlling environment where making mistakes wasn't really allowed. So I carried that into every area of my life. I tried to always do everything right. And when it came to healing chronic symptoms, it became another thing that I tried to control. I learned in the past that I couldn't make mistakes, and then through this process I learned that I could make mistakes, I could feel fear, I could feel uncomfortable, and I'll still be okay. And that was a huge shift. This is where culture comes into this as well. In the West, we're often taught that success means pushing, hustling, always moving forward. This may not be applicable to everyone, but that paradigm works in some ways, but it also burns a lot of people out. So many people I see are burnt out. A lot of people have been conditioned to believe that rest means weakness and pushing means success. So they treat healing the same way. I've got to push. I've got to meditate for hours and hours. They push and push and push, even when their system is asking for something different. For some people in this process, the most courageous thing they can do is to rest, to stop, to pause, to learn that they're still enough and they're still worthy if they don't go to the gym that day. For other people, it's the opposite. They've learned to hide away, and pushing gently becomes the most courageous thing that they need to do. Neither is right or wrong. Healing isn't about having the exact answer. There's a framework for healing. And within that framework, there are consistent elements like self-reflection, meditation, journaling, one-on-one support. But within that framework, the real skill you're learning is how to be more flexible, how to be more adaptable, moving through life with more flexibility, letting go of rigid rules, letting go of control, learning that you'll get better at understanding what you need, and also that sometimes you won't get it right, and that's also okay. You know, it doesn't mean your body is going backwards if you get it wrong, if you push when you shouldn't have done or rest when you shouldn't have done. Your body is perfectly capable of moving through uncomfortable moments. And you learn that by practicing being with discomfort, by doing things like meditation, and often by having support as you do this work. You learn that you can be with discomfort, you can be with fear. So that's the video. It's not about whether to rest or to push. It's about learning that resting can sometimes feel uncomfortable and pushing can sometimes feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It may mean that you just need to be with the fear. You need to learn how to be with the fear. Even if it is the wrong choice for you that day, you learn that it's okay to make mistakes and come home or go out, and that's also okay. Any questions you have, anything you'd like to share, anything you'd like to vent about, you can do so in the comments below. If you'd like more support, understanding about when to rest and when to push and how to be more adaptable, how to be more flexible, how to acclimatize to fear and uncertainty, you can join our pain relief community. Details are below. You may be watching this in the pain relief community already, so if you are, then of course just comment below about this, asking any questions. Otherwise, thanks for watching and hopefully hear from you soon.